All right, we're back. Welcome to another rendition of FNAF philosophy. And today I want to talk about metaphysics. Now, if you've seen my first video in this series, I guess, um, my intentions with this video are going to be a little different than the last one. The last video, the first one, on epistemology or theory of knowledge in FNAF was a lot more about analyzing different approaches, guidelines, boundaries to theorizing. And this video is going to be more about a direction or area of inquiry or types of specific theories. This time, I'm trying to open up some wider questions about the series that I don't always see a lot of people asking. And that's because it's a lot less concrete. And frankly, we can make a fair assumption that Scott wasn't really thinking about all of this stuff when he started making the games. But I still would love to see videos on these types of questions. If you make one, tell me about it. Comment on this video and then I will go watch yours. I think that this is a new realm of fun speculation about the series. It's a Wild West. And again, it involves metaphysics. Okay, so what is metaphysics exactly? So it is a school of philosophy, really one of the first ones that we can track historically, and it concerns the basic nature of reality, as in what is the world made of, what goes on that we can't perceive with normal scientific means, if there's anything like that at all. So to clarify, meta means beyond. So the idea is that this school of philosophy is concerned with what is beyond physics, as in speculating on what science can't necessarily understand or at least empirically track. What supernatural forces or unnatural forces are at play in the real world? To give a concrete example, there was this very old Greek philosopher, one of the originals. His name was Heraclitus, and he believed that the basic building block of the universe was fire, the element of fire. He thought that everything was made out of fire somehow, making him sound dumb. He was a very interesting figure, and everything we know about him, he definitely said some very interesting stuff. But we're looking at applying this concept to the FNAF franchise. So when we're talking about applying metaphysics to FNAF, we're shifting the question to mean what is the nature of the reality of the world of Five Nights at Freddy's? What supernatural forces at play? How do they work? How does the supernatural interact with the natural, if it does at all? Metaphysics in FNAF is very much concerned with what I would call the ghost story aspect of the series. Dead people haunting inanimate objects, people potentially coming back to life, or at least staying somewhat alive in this weird suspended undead state. How exactly a spirit comes to occupy a body, what is required if it's possible for a spirit to move on. Metaphysics would also involve things like remnant and agony. Now, there's obviously a physical component to those things, but there's also clearly a non-physical component to remnant and agony, something to do with spirits. I don't know much about those things. I'm not going to dip into that necessarily, but I would say that anything involving the nature of remnant and agony, what they are, what they can do, what they could be used for, how certain characters have used them if they have, that would fall under metaphysics. I'm really going to skirt that stuff because I don't know a lot about it. But obviously, William Afton himself at least figures out some sort of physical aspect to remnant and agony. He starts to do stuff with them. But what about the spiritual or the supernatural component to remnant and agony? How do they work in regards to the spirits? Now, like I said, this isn't going to be exactly like the epistemology video. This is going in a different direction. And so I'm really interested here just to unload a lot of metaphysical questions about the nature of the FNAF world. So here's our first dump on that. What exactly causes a dead person to possess an animatronic? Do they have to die in or near it? Could someone like Charlie, who probably possessed the puppet, could they have possessed like a window or the cupcake instead and they just went for the puppet just because they felt like it? Or was there not really a choice there? Is there something spiritual about, or something special about animatronics as a technology that creates less interference or allows for easier possession. I say that mostly in relation to the next question, which is, I mean, are dead people possessing random stuff all the time in this world? Is the FNAF world at large just lousy with spirits possessing everything? Is this just the thing people know about on the normal? Like, oh yeah, my buddy Billy died near that stop sign, and so he possesses it. He's hanging out near that stop sign all the time, and sometimes he goes see hi. Sometimes he jumps in the road and attacks cars. I don't know. You know what I mean? What's going on here that's special about the story here, that this is not like a reality shifting phenomenon happening everywhere else? Is this related to possession? Is it only people who are murdered or who die very tragically? How far does it go exactly? Like, kind of like I said, can a person possess a stop sign, a window? Can they possess a whole car? Can they possess a building? Can buildings be haunted? Seems like FNAF 3 would make a good argument there for the buildings seeming to be haunted in some way or form with the phantom apparitions. I'll get into that a little bit later, but you could go somewhere in that direction. Okay, I'm at my limit for rhetorical questions for now. I do want to say that if you think that these questions are a little too out there or not exactly related to what's going on in the series, I want you to consider two very relevant people that I follow that are kind of talking in this realm of thinking. Specifically, God David, or Loop Victim, God Victim. So I've already made my own video about God David, but I'm going in a very different direction on that video. My refutal of God David is very different. I'm arguing about the intentions of the author there. So go look at that video if you want my opinions on that. But in general, I think what you think the limits or boundaries of what the spirits in this universe are, just how powerful they can be or how much they can influence, I think that answer directly affects how plausible you believe a theory like Loop Victim, God Victim, or God David to be. You have to believe metaphysically that the spirits in FNAF are capable of influencing events in the physical world strongly enough to pull off something like God David. Now, here's where I want to point out again that answering a question like that is very speculative. There's not a ton of evidence that can point in one direction or another. Just like real metaphysics, some point are postulating about what reality is like and what supernatural forces, if they exist, what they are capable of. It has to fall into the realm of speculation. No way around it. I also think it's important to consider. Solid Silver and The Unwithered Truth did a really good, complete deep dive walkthrough of his FNAF 2 reboot video. And in that video, Unwithered was talking a lot about all of these exact questions in his writing of the reboot series. These are questions that he's still pondering while writing it. How is a spirit possessed? Are there other spirits around in the game? Is the FNAF world just lousy with spirits? He also asked a very interesting question, which is, what if there is anything? What is there something special about William Afton as a character that he's sort of just all of these things are just happening around him? Or again, is this happening a lot in the greater world? It doesn't seem like it is, because it would be the talk of the town, or people would just be like, "Oh, I know what's going on. This happens all the time. These animatronics are possessed by dead children. Therefore, children died near them. Therefore, we have an investigation open up. Call the spirit police." Not really going on. Another good example is the whole thing about the 0 point field. I guess this is something from the games. I guess it concerns like a mix of consciousness and spirit. Look, I'm not going to pretend to understand it at all. I know Gibby has done a video on it, but I do know that if this is a valid answer to the sort of metaphysical realm of FNAF, that it serves as a sort of backbone to all of these questions about what is going on in the series exactly. All right, but let's move on. I have more metaphysical questions. Okay, we've got a lot to cover here. I think these are all worth pondering. Some spirits seem to be different. Some spirits seem to interact with the world more than others. The security logbook is an example of this. You have maybe two spirits and Michael Afton sort of having a conversation. Are there other ways that spirits can interact with living people? Do some spirits have a stronger connection to the world, or are all dead people equal and others just don't care or they don't know that they can do that? Circus Baby herself seems like a problem. Not a problem, but a question to solve. She directly talks to us, like physically with words. Is that just because the spirit of Elizabeth Afton is possessing a robot that could already talk? Or is there something special about Elizabeth that she can talk with them? Is it because they're siblings? I don't know. Does it depend on the what the spirit is possessing? I also have questions about the vengeful spirit and the one that you should not have killed. I have no idea if these are the same or not. I'm not trying to get into that. I'm going to differentiate it for the sake of it. They could be the same. What is different about this or these two spirits versus other spirits? Because there seems to be a significant difference. The vengeful spirit somehow has the ability to torture William Afton in some pocket hell dimension. Old Man Consequences seems to be a spirit with some sort of agency, too, as he seems to have hijacked or found his way unwittingly into this afterlife and is directly advising either the player or the vengeful spirit to do something outside of the vengeful spirit's wishes, which is just to chill. Unless you think Old Man Consequences is some sort of subconscious of the vengeful spirit that wants to be laid to rest. But it seems more likely the Old Man Consequences is he's his own guy. Um, and the what's up with UCN as well as a place? Where is this happening? You know, are all the vengeful spirits who died in the pizzeria at the end of FNAF 6, the Pizzeria Simulator, are they the only ones in this hellish pocket dimension? I only say it's a pocket dimension because it doesn't seem like other dead people are just showing up. You know, like the ghost of George Washington isn't just hanging out at the UCN pizzeria. It seems to be only people involved with the story here. And I only say it's hellish because William Afton is clearly being tortured here. I'm not saying it's the biblical Judeo-Christian hell. Like the reason Monty Gator isn't there is because his spirit was baptized or something, or he went to church more than the other characters. You know, that joke doesn't work if Monty Gator is in the game. I don't know. It's been a while. Um, Now, what about the Shadow animatronics? Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy. What are they exactly? And why is it seemingly just the two of these that exist? And finally, I brought it up before, but what are the phantom apparitions in FNAF 3 exactly? Like Phantom Balloon Boy. Are they spiritual manifestations? Or are they just sort of, you know, psychological post traumatic flashbacks by the main character? If it's someone like Michael Afton, is the building itself haunted? If they are spirits, are they just sort of following Springtrap around? Like these spirits just kind of go wherever Springtrap goes? What's going on here? You see how many questions there are in relation to the outer reality of the FNAF series? Now, I've really only talked about the older games, so I do want to try to get into the newer games a bit. Um, can these spirits rest and permanently leave the physical world alone? Something like Happiest Day points to that as a possibility. If spirits can be laid to rest willingly, can they also forcefully be taken away? I don't think William Afton wanted to get out of town, but it seems like in UCN he's trapped somewhere he doesn't want to be. Can these spirits come back to the physical world and repossess something else? Now, the reason I'm asking these questions is because the answer to these questions seems important. It would decide whether or not you think that William Afton or Michael Afton or other characters could actually still be around in some form in the Steel Wool era. And there's also the question of, in general, in the Steel Wool games, if there are ghosts, spirits, possessions, if there are possessions in the Steel Wool era, who and what are they? Is the M1 Mimic possessed? Is F1, F10 and 4 a ghost? If Edwin is dead, is his spirit around somewhere? Are the glam rocks some form of possessed, or is it just a scientific answer, like the AI being whack corrupted? Is Glitch Trap a ghost or just rogue code? Is the white tiger a ghost or something else? Now, these questions seem very important to me. If they're strongly one way or another, like Steel Wool says, nope, no ghosts at all, this is just a sci-fi now, or yes, ghosts, well, to me, that either closes a lot of doors with theorizing or opens a lot of doors. Now, there's a lot I haven't covered here, even though this might seem like a lot. And I think there's a lot of uncharted theorizing territory if you are interested in. Now, some final notes. What I would caution against, or at least be careful with, is even though we are talking about metaphysics here as a concept, I wouldn't necessarily suggest referring to or using real metaphysical philosophy to amend your FNAF theories. I just don't think that Scott was opening up Plato or Aristotle when writing these games. Someone like Glamrocrates he seems like someone that would be in to try that. If you watch this, definitely talk to me. But I don't know if it would help you or not. So go wild. Like I said, send me your theories. If you do make something in this realm, I would be very interested to see what people cook up. I'm not interested in doing it myself, I don't think, besides just asking the questions, opening up the door to more people asking these questions. That's it right now. That's another lecture in FNAF philosophy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if I did a good job. If not, get on out of here. All right. Have a great day.